Welcome back to the channel, RacerX here, and today I'm back with my good buddies in Hurst at the Hurst Autoplex, one of my favorite places to film. And today I want to show you a couple of different cars because I have an interesting subject that I want to broach with you, and it's something I kind of talk about a little bit from time to time, and but it's definitely been something that's on my mind with all the crazy horsepower numbers coming out right now. You got all the new EVs coming out right now. Just the whole automotive world has kind of been turned on its head, but I think a lot of it has been lost in terms of horsepower because now everybody's so focused on how fast things are and just really how much horsepower they make, they kind of forget about all the nuances of driving. And that's one of the greatest things about being a car person is there are lots of little nuances to each and every little car out there, and each of them have their own merits. Well, today I want to talk a little bit about the fact that maybe horsepower isn't everything. Yes, it is weird for somebody like me, RacerX, to say maybe horsepower isn't everything, but there is something to that, guys. So if you're new to my channel, please subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Follow me on Instagram, and we are off.
T-minus 15 seconds.
And guys, as you would have it, check this out. There's my buddy Reel to Reel, also another guy, another YouTuber here, local to Dallas. There he is.
Yes, sir.
And if you haven't seen his channel, go check him out. I've known him for several years. Your channel's been doing great. And look what is right behind him, and look what's in his hand right there. There it is, a sold sticker. He is getting a brand new red eye. Check out that thing. So now you know Hurst Autoplex is legit because Reel's buying from here too. So
no, and so on my channel, you guys, I was talking about like this is the quickest, easiest. The people in there, the most nicest people that you ever meet at a dealership. I bought cars from a lot of places.
Yeah,
I never been to a dealership like
they're
this.
good guys over here.
They're really good guys.
That's why I like filming with
and
them.
they're human, you guys.
Yeah.
They know that these cars cost a lot of money, so they're looking out for your pockets also.
No, absolutely, man. So what do you think about this? Are you excited or what?
Yeah, I'm definitely excited. I'm definitely excited. I'm more excited to drive it than anything.
Oh, you're gonna love that thing, man. Not everybody gets to test drive these things, but they are fantastic.
That's the thing. It was the same exact spec that I always wanted. So whether I drove the car or not, I was getting that car.
There you go.
I had it in my head. When you manifest things and you think about that you want this to make you greater in life, you go for it, man. Don't let nobody hold you back.
That's it, man.
Don't let nobody tell you no.
You came from the RT up to the Scat Pack, then the Hellcat. Now you're in a red eye, man. Fantastic.
Come on, man.
Congratulations,
I'm 4 for 4.
That's it.
I'm 4 for 4 right
doing
now,
your thing,
and
man.
I ain't fumbling right now.
That's right. Well, it's great to see you, my friend.
Man,
keep doing your thing.
You
I
too,
love
man.
it. So right behind me, I have got some pretty darn cool cars. As you can see, I have a ZL1 Camaro. What a beautiful car that is. On this side, I have a Charger Hellcat wide body, really good looking car. And of course, in the middle here, I have something that might be a little bit more understated. That is a Fiesta ST. But really my biggest point, and really the point I want to drive home, is the fact that you don't necessarily need 650 horsepower or 717 horsepower or 800 horsepower or 1,000 horsepower to have fun in a car. And a lot of that is just really lost these days when you've got cars out there that are running 9.2 from the factory like Tesla's Plaid is, or even say high nines like some of these cars are running nowadays that are just insane, some of these hypercars and supercars. And there's a whole segment of people out there that, one, cannot afford to buy those types of cars, and two, have just as much fun in cars that make way less horsepower. And I realize, like I said, I'm a drag racer, I love me some power, but there's something to be said for cars that just don't make quite as much power, and they can still be equally as fun, and they're not as expensive sometimes to have fun in. So yes, maybe it is a little bit weird to compare one of the baddest and most powerful four-door sedans on the planet to something like a Fiesta ST that makes only a fraction of the horsepower. And of course, Chevy's Bad Daddy ZL1 Camaro, no exception here either. You're talking about a car that makes over 650 horsepower and is an absolute ton of fun to drive. So at any rate, this little guy here, just really doesn't even belong in the conversation, a lot of people would say. But you really kind of have to understand there's a whole group of people out there that really do like imports, that like the smaller, the hatchback segment like this, and they have a lot of fun in them. Whether you leave them stock or whether you mod them, you can actually have quite a bit of fun. Yes, it may not be as fast in a straight line, but sometimes there's something to be said for just how darty cars can be and how easy they are to mod. There's lots of different factors that go into this. So I really want to kind of bring up a couple of different cars that are what I feel like are perfect examples of the fact that you don't have to have a zillion horsepower to have an absolute blast in a car. One of which is, say, the Mazda Miata. I know some people are like, look, RacerX, why in the world are you talking about a Mazda Miata? Well, the truth is there's a huge following for the Mazda Miata, and it is actually one of the most, it's actually the most used car for road course racing. A lot of times you'll see cars that are out there, you know, with these cones in the parking lot, and this little suckers are zooming in and out. I mean, the Mazda Miata, even though it makes very little horsepower compared to like what we have out there today, actually is a ton of fun to drive. Yeah, it's not going to suck your eyeballs to the back of your head in a straight line, but it's extremely darty. It's very light, and there's something to be said for something that is just a lot of fun to go zigging and zagging around town, and it is very darty, and that is a completely different feel than just straight line speed. So I think there is something to be said for that. And the other thing, say for example the Porsche 911, a car that has been around a long time, doesn't necessarily have the most aggressive look in the world. It's hot in here, by the way, guys, but at any rate, it's not super aggressive looking, but at the same time, people still buy the thing, and a lot of times they'll pay into the six figures for a car that, you know, that makes in the mid fours in terms of horsepower. And some people may say, well, you know, that's not insignificant. One, it's underrated, but the other piece of it is that thing will actually pull on cars like this one, a ZL1 that's rated at 650 horsepower. And you know, people buy those cars because of the soul. I mean, they are just really alive to drive, and it's all about the driving experience. So on paper, nobody should ever pay Porsche 911 money and go out and spend all that money on something like that for something that makes it, like I said, in the mid fours for horsepower. But people rave about driving those cars and just what a fantastic balanced car that truly is. So yeah, there's a lot of people out there that have figured this secret out. So now I'm actually in the Fiesta ST, and I will admit it has a much different feel than any of the other cars that I typically review. Yes, it is not the most powerful. This thing is a 1.6 liter four-cylinder with a little turbo on it. It puts out just under 200 horsepower. So very underwhelming when you think about the numbers. So yeah, if you just look at this thing on paper, you think, well, RacerX, how could you enjoy something like that? But you know what? When you get to drive one of these around, this is a little manual 6-speed car. And one thing is, I really still love me a manual car, especially when it's well sorted. But because this thing doesn't weigh very much, 200 horsepower feels a lot more like 400 horsepower, because this car actually rolls along pretty good. I'm actually pretty impressed with it. And so there's something to be said for just a fun factor, because this thing kind of feels a little bit like a go-kart when you're driving it. It is so light, so there's just not a lot of weight to this, and it is very darty on turn-in. It comes out of corners really nice, and it's not an unenjoyable experience at all to drive one of these. So one of the more interesting questions that I talked about with my good buddies recently is, well, if you had $150,000 sitting around, would you rather have a Tesla Plaid, which is essentially the fastest road production car out there? I know, yes, I know the Rimac is out there. There's like 50 of them, and they're like $3 million. So I realize that's out there. But at the end of the day, the Tesla Plaid is the fastest production car in the world as far as I'm concerned. It runs 9.25 miles, and you can get it for 150 grand, which is still a lot of money, but when you talk about the performance, it's a bargain. Or would you rather have, say, a C7 ZR1, which is one of my favorite looking cars on the planet? What an amazing looking machine. It looks like a spaceship. So, you know, I've done reviews on both of those two cars. So really the question is, you know, which one would you rather have? Which one would you, you know, want to go out in and drive in daily? Which one would you want to take to Cars and Coffee on a Saturday morning? And you know what? It's really up to the individual. I will tell you right now, I think I would much rather have, in terms of a look perspective, I think I would rather have the Corvette over the Tesla Plaid. Not that the Tesla Plaid is a bad looking car, but it just doesn't look anywhere near as good as the Corvette to me. So like I said, it's not all about horsepower and speed sometimes. And for those of you that have been following my channel for a while, I actually had a Subaru WRX STI for a bit, and that car was a ton of fun as well. It is all-wheel drive, and you could go around a corner at like 90 miles an hour, and it would just stick you to the window because it had so much traction on the road. And there's something to be said for that as well. It was a manual car, but a ton of fun to drive around. It sounded good, and there was just something about driving that car that I really enjoyed. So there's, you know, there's all sorts of people out there that like different things. And I will say this little ST is really a darty little sucker. It's really hard to believe it has under 200 horsepower. It doesn't seem like it, but I'm enjoying driving it. So you know what, like I said, there's a butt for every seat, as they would say, but I do enjoy driving lots of different cars, and they all have their merits. Many of you have also seen on one of my recent videos, my good buddy Rob is restoring his old Firebird. He's going to put a big old engine in that thing, and it's going to breathe fire. And the funny part is, it's probably going to make somewhere, I don't know, like mid-5s in terms of horsepower, whatever it is, but it's going to be a monster because it's going to sit at a stoplight. That cam is going to be shaking you around. It's going to sound fantastic. It's an old school car, so it's going to look great. You can't go to a lot and buy one of those. And yeah, that's not going to be the fastest thing in the world either, although it will be pretty fast. I mean, it's all relative. That's what you have to remember. But I mean, will it be fun to drive? I cannot wait to drive it when he gets it done. It's going to be so cool. I'm actually super excited about it. This kind of does bring up another interesting thing, and most car guys do figure this out at some point, but no matter what you have, there's always going to be somebody faster. Yes, I've got a Mustang. I don't even know how fast that thing will actually be at the end of the day, and this is before I've done you know, things to the engine and the transmission to make it even faster. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how much I do to it. There's still going to be guys out there or gals that are faster than me. So at the end of the day, as long as you're having fun in your car and you're doing things you love with it, you're enjoying it, you take pride in it, that is really what matters at the end of the day. So for those of you guys out there that drive, say, you know, Challengers and Chargers, and whether you have an SXT or you have the RT, which I think is a fantastic package for the street, by the way, you know, the Scat Pack, the Hellcat, the list goes on, and you can get just about any horsepower amount you really kind of want and you can afford. You know what? Fun can be had in all of those. So whether it's a 200 horsepower Fiesta ST or one of the baddest sedans at well over 700 horsepower in the Hellcat, you can have fun in all of them. They all have their merits. They're all different. So the biggest thing is just enjoy it. Don't go car poor on buying cars that you can't afford just because it is faster in a straight line. Like I said, sometimes it's fun. It's more fun to actually drive a slow car fast than a fast car slow. Me and my buddies talk about that all the time. So let me know what you think about this in the comments down below, and I'll catch you on the next one. So until then, RacerX.